There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped in 10th and Ranch Michael.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon. I'm a retired NYPD sergeant with 27 years of service. And the last few days, the last couple of weeks, we've been covering the Cassi Carli case. And the deeper dive we take into this, the more we find out some disturbing facts. And disturbing facts, not just about her case, but about the whole way we handle domestic violence in the United States. The entire way family court treats victims of domestic violence and the escalation of it and how really alone domestic violence victims can be and that the system doesn't protect them. And we're going to take a deep dive this evening with that. There's Cassi Carli on the screen. And to me, the system failed Cassi Carli. She had the little baby in common with her husband, Marcus Spanevelo. Not it was her husband, it was common law. He was just the baby's daddy. And I say that in the most irreverent way because he definitely was not a father. But the system failed her because this case had gone on for over 4 years that she had been in family court. She had been abused by the system. Really, let's put it that way. She had been abused by the system. And we're going to take a deep dive this evening in examining the system and what went wrong and what can we do about it? How can we change this system? There's a picture of the Cassie right there with her beautiful daughter. Helping the Cassi Carlis of this world. In doing this case, I received so many messages from folks in the chat that were too abused, also abused women. And it's heartbreaking. And to see how, look, when someone gets arrested in this country for a criminal offense and they don't have the means for representation, they're appointed a court-appointed lawyer that will represent them. Why can't we do the same thing for victims of domestic violence that don't have the means to hire an attorney? Because the system is abusing them. And it's outrageous about things that have happened. As we know, Cassie went missing on Sunday, March 27th, 2022. We all know the whole story about that. And it's heartbreaking that, when we talk about something called I'll bring it up on the screen. She went missing on they were conducting a custody exchange. All right. Are you hearing me now? You guys hearing me now? Um, so they were conducting a custody exchange, and just she would have to hand her child over to Marcus, and he would have the child for a couple of days. And I felt that this was a little scary too, since not um, he was not really performing his fatherly duties. Number one of which was to pay his child support. He was not paying his child support at all. And it was someone in the chat said something that I thought was rather funny, rather amusing. And because I found it amusing, I responded in an amusing way. Someone said, "My attorney says that the fact that he was not paying child support does not make him a bad father." And I responded, "Stop paying your lawyer and see if you stopping paying him will make him a bad attorney. It will make him a non attorney because he won't work anymore if he's not paid." That's how ridiculous that statement was. Put a one in the chat if you think that's funny. I thought it was hilarious, the fact that that attorney said that. Attorneys come up with gems. The fact that he hello, Uno, who, it's good to see you guys. So as I said, so many people in the chat have come forward, brave women, brave victims of domestic violence, and told a little snippet of their story. And it's really heartbreaking to me. So all you guys found that funny. Uno Who, Panda Bear, Toby Kenobi. I like that name, Kim Allison. Yeah, hilarious. The fact that he's not paying his child support does not make him a bad guy. Oh, really? You know something? I have two kids. They're grown now. One's turning 30 on April 18th, and the other one's 27. I paid for every single, but I'm still married, obviously. But had I been divorced, I would have paid for everything I could for them. That's part of being a father. You're just not biologically the father, and that's where it ends. And even though Cassie Carli and the baby's dad were not together any longer, he was still responsible, and he took no responsibility for that child. In my mind, if you don't pay, you're taking no responsibility. And when folks like an attorney says, "Oh, that doesn't make him a bad guy." Oh, really? What planet are you from, Mr. Attorney? When would you stop working if you didn't get paid? Probably the minute that your fees ran out, you would stop working. So this all started on Cassie Carli, obviously the picture on the screen. She's a 37-year-old. She was headed to pick up her daughter around 7 p.m. at Navarre Beach. This was on the 27th. We all know how the story played out. Horrible, horrible the way this story played out. And what we're going to cover this evening, and I'm actually going to be going on this evening um, at 9:30. I didn't. Duty Ron is going on with I think Reann Carli, the sister of Cassi Carli, at 8. So I didn't want to be in the way if he stays on for an hour and a half or so. I wanted to be clear of so we're not stepping on each other. So I'm going on this evening at 9:30 at night this evening, and we're gonna take a deep, deep dive into the family court case, and we're gonna have an expert with us. And I say she's an expert because she's gone through this, and she's a brilliant woman, and we had her on a couple of weeks ago. Let me just put her up on the screen. Uh, there's a picture of her. Great domestic violence experiences, they're embarrassing, I think. You're bearing your soul. And how great is it that a woman comes across and tells her story to everyone else and shares her story in such a personal way, but to help other people, to help other people. You guys, are you hearing me now? I'm sorry, I may have lost the sound for a second. Is everyone hearing me? Put a one in the chat if you're hearing me. Uh, I changed the screen, and sometimes when I change the screen, I lost the sound for a minute. Uh, guys, put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, everyone's hearing me now. So, yeah, it's one of those things that to share your innermost thoughts, the horrible things that occurred to you, in order to help other women. Durga, yes, abusers always demand the most invasive discovery every time they drag their victims back to family court. Uh, Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, 5 by 5. That's an old term from the police department. When the radio was loud and clear, you would say 5 by 5. I'm hearing you 5 by 5. Well, thank you, Lieutenant Pete. Pauline Buckles, by and large, though, Bill rarely has technical difficulties. One, thank you. I just, I'm switching back and forth, and sometimes, I wish I had a producer and I could just be the on-air talent, but that's not in the cards for right now. So this evening, yeah, we're gonna have Leslie Morgan Steiner on. Of course, Phil Grimaldi will be my co-host tonight. I just wanted to come on today to just talk to you folks and to talk about this case that's been like on everyone's mind. It's just been so horrendous. As I said, Duty Ron is going on this evening at 8 p.m. and I believe it's Reann Carli that's going to talk about her sister, and they're going to have the GoFundMe page, and they're going to raise money for her and her daughter Saylor. And I mean, we've covered a bunch of these cases. Of course, the Naomi Reann case, which was a horror. And when you start getting into these violence cases against women or against any human being, it sort of it brings me back to my homicide days, and it takes a little bit of a toll on you to cover the violence and cover these horrible stories. And we can't help but think that perhaps there's a picture of Carly on the screen. Perhaps this could have been prevented if it was handled differently. Maybe it could have been prevented. And that's one of the things we're going to take this deep dive tonight and take a look at how maybe this could have been prevented. This is just a domestic violence flyer from Indiana, and some of the facts about it, and this is probably, if it's true in Indiana, it's probably true in most states. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the United States have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. On a typical day, local domestic violence hotlines receive approximately 19,159 calls, an average of approximately 13 calls every minute. Now, this is in the state of Indiana. In 2018, domestic violence accounted for 20% of violent crime. Abusers' access to firearms increases the risk of intimate partner femicide at least 5-fold. When firearms have been used in the most severe abuse incident, the risk increases 41-fold. 65% of all murder-suicides involved an intimate partner. 96% of the victims of these crimes are female. So these are some of the statistics we have, and I'm sure the New York statistics mirror Indiana probably in a bigger way. It's a huge problem we have in this country, and one of the things that we have questioned is why isn't it that family court is doing a better job in handling this? Why aren't they handling? Why did Cassi Carli have these horrendous threats to her? And why did she cry out to family court, yet nothing was done? Nothing was done to help her. It's just to me, it's a sad situation. Misdemeanor. Hi, everybody, sending positive vibes from Wales. Rhonda Husaro. My daughter is going through this right now. Just got back from court. Once again, the abuser wins. It's so messed up. Urban infidel. Huge problem. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. It was over 20 years ago and it still haunts me with terror to this day. That's horrible. Don't, guys, I think that, maybe in the chat, if you put a one in the chat, I think you would say that you think family court needs to be retooled and reworked, and they need to do things better. And I think that if any of these cases scream out to this, it's that family court needs to be held more accountable. Tammy Donaldson, can Cassie families take legal action against family court? I don't think so. I think district attorneys, family courts, judges, I think they're immune from being sued. There's something in the law. So many people with the one in the chat believe that family court needs to be overhauled. We need to really, really have a change. We need to hold judges accountable. We need to hold the family court system accountable. And it's something that, we try to shine a light on it with this show. And in no way am I an expert on domestic violence. I used to be an expert in homicide and investigation when I was on the NYPD. And many of our cases back then were due to domestic violence. And I'm learning a lot more now from you guys, from you folks in the chat, you women in the chat, from covering this case of Cassi Carli, from covering other domestic violence cases, and to see how people like this guy, Marcus Spanevelo, was allowed to escalate this situation that lasted over 4 years. But don't forget, Cassi Carli was pregnant with his child for 9 months. And then for 4 years that the child was on this earth, when Marcus was her alleged father, Cassie had to deal with this guy. And tonight we're going to take a deeper dive into the family court case. And what can we do? I'd be welcome suggestions from all of you guys. Silas Stingy, I trust your judgment. You have experience. Well, thank you, Silas. I'm just letting everyone know I'm in no way an expert on domestic violence. I have a lot of expertise in investigation and police work, but this is a whole other field. And that's why, you need an advocate if you have to deal with this. You need an attorney. And why, I would ask, why again, I'll bring it up again ad nauseum, why aren't people victims of domestic violence? Why are they not given a court-appointed attorney to guide them through this process? They do it for criminals. These are good people that are in trouble. They're in big trouble. Why aren't they getting a court-appointed attorney? Burr, when my ex was under collections, he would harass collections for information about me and where I live and try to get my baby's social security number. Burr, there's no road that some of these shameless folks will take. They want to be in control. I think that's what it's about. I'm learning about it's control, and they want to win. They want to win, whatever that means. They want to be in control and they want to win. Urban infidel. New York City not locking people up puts women who are victims of domestic violence in terrible danger. Once the cops are called, if you try to leave, it usually escalates. Urban infidel. I can attest to that. When I was on the NYPD, the policy was to arrest. That was the policy, pretty much, to make an arrest, because they had a lot of research on it, and it showed that arresting the perpetrator in these cases cut down a great deal on the future violence. So I can't attest to what the NYPD is doing in the past 10 years that I've been off the job in regards to domestic violence. But the policy used to be to arrest. Durga, we need to include coercive control in the definition of domestic violence in both criminal and family court. I tried to get a protection order, but because he never hit me, it was denied. Durga, I understand what you're saying, and that there's a lot of psychological abuse when you talk physical abuse, that's one thing, but there's a lot of psychological abuse, which I guess would be a harder thing to define as far as a prosecutable offense or to make that criminal. Be difficult to do, but I understand where you're coming from. Many domestic violence victims list this as one of the worst things is psychological abuse, and that's for sure. Folks, if you like this channel, Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories, please go to our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. If you want to help us and support us, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And you see the folks with the green font in the chat, they're part of our channel members, our YouTube family. And we have 5 different levels in our YouTube family. And if you want to support us at that level or on a YouTube family, become part of the Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories family, you're welcome to join. Join the family, and we're going to try to give you great content, and that's what we're trying to do. Peppermint Mocha, right? When I needed help, I said, do I have to commit a crime to get help? X. Yeah, I mean, isn't that somewhat, you don't get law enforcement's attention until someone commits a crime. Horrible. Urban Infidel, my ex almost murdered me. My dog saved my life by getting in between us. Thank God for your dog, right? That's for sure. Alicia B, in my opinion, if a person doesn't have control of their emotions, they're best kept at a distance. Guys, I do. Eddie Stackpole, retired NYPD detective, Eddie Stackpole. Family court is a maze of confusion. You definitely need a family court attorney. So there's a professional telling you guys that to get through the maze of family court and to deal with what a horror that domestic violence can be, you need an attorney. Uno Who, thank you for the 499 super chat. I love saying your name. It reminds me of Yoo-Hoo, but it's Uno Who. That's great. I love that. It's a great name. So many of you guys' screen names is great. Peppermint Mocha. I like that too. What do we got here? Alicia B. Thank goodness you're okay, Urban Infidel. Ed Stackpole. We just read his about family court. Urban Infidel. Stalking and threats have to be taken more seriously. One of the things that we found out in this case was that Cassi Carli was threatened numerous times by Marcus Spanevelo. And that type of stuff has to be taken seriously by the court. If you threaten someone over the phone, there's something in aggravated harassment, the law, that they can be arrested because they used an electronic device to threaten you. Or if they do it by writing, there's another device used to threaten you. And that's part of aggravated harassment. I remember detectives used to make arrests for that all the time. You guys are coming up with some great Arctic Cat. My ex and I worked with law enforcement. They defended him when I rented from the sheriff. He held us for our children and myself at gunpoint until I wrote him a receipt for the child support. Law enforcement and the court didn't help. That's horrendous if that happened. I mean, I believe that happened. Horrendous. I find it extremely egregious when fathers don't pay their child support. And in this case, and we're going to get deeper into this evening at 9:30, Marcus Spanevelo claimed he was making $22,000 a year, yet he had a loan for a $50,000 truck. You couldn't pay the loan back making $22,000 a year. There were many other things about his whole act that should have raised red flags on this case, and they didn't. They kept going on. It was just outrageous. Burr and some of the people who interview parents have their own agendas and problems with their own spouses. They are not saints. Look, none of us are saints, but people that are in professional positions like that should do the right thing and should not insert their opinions. They should conduct things based on on the law and make decisions based on the law, not on uh, their personal. Look at that beautiful picture, Cassie Carli and her daughter Saylor. How beautiful is that, right? And luckily, when we spoke about it, that her family now has this beautiful little girl, 4-year-old Saylor, and Cassie's sister, Leanne, I believe her name is. She's probably going to get custody, and she seems like a great person too. So this child's going to have a lot of love, and of course, she lost her mom, which is a huge, huge tragedy. However, you know, time will heal some wounds, and will this little girl Sailor ever get over the death of her mother? Uh, I don't think you ever do. However, she has a loving family that's going to take care of her. And that's one great thing that we can all be thankful for. Yeah, she did lose her mom, but thank God. And we spoke about this early on in the case. Thank God the police knew enough to take her away from this monster, and his family or whoever had her during the time when all this occurred. And they saved this little girl's life, and I'm convinced of that. And I don't know if you saw him, um, Marcus Spanevelo, addressed the court during his arraignment. He got all choked up when he talked about his daughter, which to me was total nonsense because the guy didn't take care of his daughter. Now you want to shed some crocodile tears? I don't think so. Folks, one of the things too that we're waiting to find out, and I have an opinion on this, is that the autopsy still hasn't come back, and they haven't told us that A, this was determined to be a homicide, and B, this is the cause of death. Um, my opinion is they're probably holding it because they have the extradition hearing, and I think they probably it usually takes about 30 days to extradite someone. And the charges that he was being held on now would be I think, a little weak to extradite him. But when they present which is no doubt going to happen, the homicide charges, then it'll be just a slam dunk. So right now he was being held on tampering with evidence, giving false information concerning a missing person investigation, and destruction of evidence. So I think for law enforcement that might not have been strong enough to do the extradition. So in my opinion, and I could be wrong, in my opinion, they're going to wait to release it till the timing exists when they'll do the release of the autopsy results and the extradition paperwork at the same time. And he'll be extradited to Florida for murder. And that's when this case will all come together. And that's my opinion. And I think law enforcement now has said that they were waiting for the toxicology, which can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't know if they'll in fact do that because the cause of death doesn't have to be related to the toxicology. Is it good to have all of that information? Yeah, but they can get it and the autopsy can still determine the cause and the manner of death, and that can be released, and that can get him extradited back to Florida. As I said, this evening we're going to be on at 9:30 with Leslie Morgan Steiner, author, mother, public speaker. How many other things? Author, mother, public speaker. Oh, and most importantly, domestic violence survivor, and she was abused in a horrendous relationship. So when people talk about their experiences, I think it really helps all of us that are, getting information and sharing our own stories. And I think, as I said, I had Leslie Morgan Steiner on with Dr. Debbie Goodman from a university down near Fort Lauderdale. I'm forgetting the name of the college right now. She was great. She was on our show. But I wanted Leslie Morgan Steiner to have the stage tonight to speak about her story by herself and just to have myself and Phil Grimaldi interviewing her. But I wanted her to be able to have more time on the screen and to tell her story. Burr, he would have hurt that child to underline his own supposed suffering. How many of these monsters commit murder, suicide, so draw their innocent child up with their problems. Burr, I 100% agree with you. And that's why we, day one, said they got to get that kid away from him. We got to get that kid away, you know. Tommy Donaldson, yes, get him to Florida, 100%. Betty Smith, so sorry I have to go now. God bless. Well, thank you for stopping by. Glad they got Saylor away. Burr, you're 100% correct. They got Saylor away. So again, this evening on our show will be Leslie Morgan Steiner, mom, author, speaker. There's a picture of her on the screen right now. Mom, author, speaker, domestic violence victim, and one of the most important things, survivor. She survived, and she lived to tell her tale, to help other people, because there's a lot of people out there who are survivors of domestic violence, and many of you in the chat have told your story to me. Misdemeanor domestic violence can be so hard if you feel you have no other place to go. 100% misdemeanor. Amy Margolin, the autopsy is completed. They just are not releasing the results yet. And that's law enforcement's call. And I know when they're ready to release them, they will do so, and we'll all hear about it. North Florida, Gary. I still can't get over the fact that initially law enforcement in Alabama let him proceed on with the child. That baffles me. You know, North Florida, Gary, I think you're right, but in the very beginning, there was a lot of like, you don't know all the facts in the beginning, and you don't know the mindset of the whole situation. And did they have enough then to take the child away? Like, what was their reasoning to take the child away? And I think that had family court communicated and with police right away, they would have known, yes, let's get this kid away. This child, Saylor, 4-year-old Saylor, is in danger because this guy, they had the whole dossier of the family court interactions over a 4-year period. So, yeah, that's why. Urban infidel, complicated issues that work against attaining freedom and justice is the shame the victim feels and the reluctancy to talk about it or call the police and press charges. Urban infidel, you speak like a person that has experience in this, and thank you for sharing that. Ruth Ann Griffin, hi, Sergeant Bill. Hello, Ruth Ann, good to see you. Daily Wonder, took me 10 years to get away. Yeah, it's a horrendous situation. So 10 years to get away. Tonight, as I said, we got Leslie Morgan Steiner, and I spoke about her books. I could just put it up on the screen again. The Naked Truth, The Baby Chase, Crazy Love, and Mommy Wars. We can talk about that a little more this evening. But folks, I just wanted to come on this afternoon just to give you a preview of what we're going to see tonight. And again, as I said, Duty Ron is on at 8 p.m. tonight with, I believe, Reann Carli, who is the sister of Cassie. And she's going to talk about it from her point of view, her family's point of view. And they have a GoFundMe for her. And don't miss Duty Ron. And then, of course, stay on afterwards. And at 9:30 this evening, we'll be on with Leslie Morgan Steiner. And it promises to be not just an enlightening show, a great show. You're going to take a deep dive into the family court report on this case. And tune in tonight at 9:30 p.m. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. God bless and have a great day.
One episode just ain't enough.